Hello again. This is a long overdue video for my golden dragon encounter out here in Wildspace in the Astral Seas. So to recap how we even got here in the first place, the players were attacked at home by a great blue worm named Lady Assot, who the players unfortunately murdered her kids. I wouldn't say murdered so much as put an end to those three blue dragons, the Blues brothers. Through her rage, she made a deal with Tiamat to ascend to the power of a great worm, and she laid waste to the players' home, took their city, just sieged it to ruin, destroyed their home, and the players fled anywhere they could, searching for allies to help them turn back the tide. They ended up in the city of Sigil, where they started to do some work to try and figure out where to find the gold dragons. So previously they found out that the gold dragons had fled the material plane with their work here done to go and spread the virtues of justice throughout the multiverse. However, they did say that when called upon, they would aid a group of dragons there called the Metallic Council, the Platinum Council, excuse me. And when they were summoned, they did not appear. So they went to Sigil to look for clues and make some money. They made enough money in a fighting pit to purchase a Spelljammer. They fought a giant mech suit built by the scientist Qualish. And they hedged their bets and won the day. So they increased what gold they had on them when they got there, and were able to purchase a Spelljammer. And none of that mattered because Sigil is the city of doors. So I made a table where there would be a chance throughout their time there to open a random door. At the end of that session, a player rolled 100 on that door chart, and they ended up right here. Prior to this encounter, I should say, they investigated the Monastery of Golden Flowers, which was the training ground for acolytes of Bahamut, and eventually would help to develop and train the next champion of the Platinum Dragon himself. Things did not go according to their plan. Tiamat's agents eventually assassinated the would-be champion, and that caused the gold dragon here, Eldregard, to basically fall into a depression. And as we know, dragons being magical creatures, his depression affected everything around him. And everything in the monastery had to begin reliving the worst day of their life, their worst nightmare. Because he relived that death of the champion every day. And he has for centuries at this point. And he's stuck in that unending nightmare. And the players slowly piece this together until they found the way down to Eldregard's lair, where he's been sleeping. The lair itself has been torn apart over time and given way to Wildspace here. I tried to incorporate as much from the example lair in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons as possible. So this building over here, this would have once been his guest quarters for people that he held in high regard. So they would have had their own private accommodations here in the monastery. And as you can see through the ruined walls and whatnot, it has fallen in disrepair. There, in the monastery itself, through the grounds, there's a waterfall area that no one reached to because they really just kind of dove right into the building instead of exploring a lot of the grounds. But that was another bit that I incorporated from Fizzbands. Other than that, I just wanted to have elevation and kind of just like really strike up the ruin aspect of what this lair had become. So I used a lot of ruined walls, ledges, rocks, floating rocks. I wanted to do more with this right here. I've got a light puck underneath it, but I really couldn't figure out a good story reason to put it together. The watchtower right there, I used that as their staging ground as they entered into the lair here. So what I should have stairs that come downwards to signify that they came from up above, because this lair was once underground, but over time and through fits, Eldregard here has attacked his own lair, destroyed it. Erosion has played a factor, meteors striking just at the right spot to get part of it to fall away and give this area wild space. And for the creatures, for the players that couldn't fly, they had to make checks constantly to jump, or they'd fall into wild space and have to be rescued by someone who could fly. That's my flump right there. I always try to put a flump somewhere in a build because one of my players just thinks they're the coolest little creatures in the world. And that's mostly it. This was just a fight map. That's all it was. It was a 4-hour session of them trying to survive this dragon's onslaught of attacks. They did try to reason with him at first. However, they did not roll high enough to give him any pause. And in fact, he felt insulted that they would think that he's such a fool that he would just give up that easily to the agents that have come here to assassinate him, because he can smell one of the players has been corrupted or touched, blessed, however you want to word it, by Thorazadun. So he could smell that dark influence and knew that in his soul that he had to eradicate it. So he very early on used his only spell to cast Meteor Swarm. And that ended up actually destroying the apartment here. So I flipped that into rubble. The tower was destroyed. And it comes apart. I'm not going to take it apart because there's not much really to see in there. It was just for like a kind of signify like, hey, this guy means business. He's destroyed his lair. He's going to destroy you. He did kill 3 of them in that meteor swarm. And yet they still did try to find ways to reason with him until the Yanti here. She's a Twilight Cleric. She prayed to her god, Mershalt, who isn't evil in my game, so that I could make this kind of work for that player to play as a Yanti named Anaconda. She used her time to say a quick prayer. And he's like, and to ask, like, what do we do here? And as a DM, I really needed them to figure that out because his breath weapons recharged almost every time that I needed them to. So I said, as the sleepy snake god, hey, you kind of gotta punch him, you know? He's sort of beating you up. When I get beat up, I tend to punch back, but I'm always asleep. So, you gotta do what you gotta do. Their dragon minis over here, like little ones. The players do have a, I don't remember the name of the magic item. I've already forgotten it. I had to look it up 3 different times during the course of the game. But it is the legendary item from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons that lets them make potions or fine alcohol or whatever they need to make. And they all had a potion of Dragon's Majesty that the player with that item gave them. So I had people just turning into dragons throughout this thing. So I needed some dragon minis, which you can see I kind of keep just behind the tower there. That's pretty much it. They were able to beat this dragon back, wake him up. And his very first thought was, what would an agent of Thrasadune actually want to do with me? And that player says he's not that agent anymore, that he does not serve the chained oblivion, as he's been referred to, the god of madness, the abyss, pandemonium, and he wants to be free of that. So even in his weakened state, Eldregard still felt compelled to help, and they have gone further down into the lair here, where these stairs took him to another part of the monastery where the monks would purify themselves of worldly desires and sins in order to become closer to Bahamut. So the next encounter will be that ritual. One of the players will need to defend him as he is fighting off the grip of Thrasadune himself. So that should be a fun little battle map to put together. I've got some neat little gags that I haven't used yet from some of this Dwarven Forge stuff that I've got. So I think the players will really dig it. Yep, this is mostly all Dwarven Forge stuff. Risers are from Axe and Shield. They're super useful. I need to get a lot more of them because these are high-level adventures I'm running. So pretty much everyone has a way to fly around at this point. Yeah, mostly Dwarven Forge. Minis are WizKids. I think that pretty much does it. The map, yeah, this mat right here, this is the Wildspace mat that WizKids makes. I love it. I think it's probably the best space mat that you can get. Oh, these crystals, they're from Monster Fight Club. Monster Fight Club makes very good stuff. I would like some more of their stuff. But for now, that is all I have. And appreciate you checking out taking the time to check this stuff out. Like I've said in the past, it's mostly just a way to archive what I've put together for me and my players. So thanks for watching.